Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Sitting in the driveway again. I'm not gonna sit here because I was hearing some weird noises when I was walking out to my car, but I just wanted to start here and let the car get warmed up for a second. I usually drive around, but I'm like driving around and I'm so cold. I'm like, ooh. So I'm heating my steering wheel, and which is like so nice that I have this in this car, and I'm heating my seats and stuff. But anyway, I brought, this was one of those Coach bags that I bought, and I think I'm gonna start using it just to carry my camera stuff in it, like when I do my review videos and all that kind of stuff, because then I can put like a battery in the pocket, and then when I go through a battery, I can put it in the front pocket. I know it sounds so stupid. You guys are like, do you really think through this stuff? I really think through this stuff, because this bag over here that I have is like so packed full to the brim that like nothing else will really fit in it. And this is like my messenger bag that I carry around with me. I'm thinking about actually changing it tomorrow or the next day, because I got some backpacks, you know, earlier in the year, and I haven't used them, like that rare form backpack. But anyway, literally all I have in here right now in my purse is one battery. But I think it's a cute bag, and it's just been sitting there and I haven't used it, so. Oh, and then I put my camera in here when I was coming out here, and then look, I got this LaCroix, this hibiscus LaCroix, and look, it fits perfectly in my bag, and then I can zip it in my bag, and then, isn't that perfect for when I'm going vlogging? So this is like my vlogging bag, or like my video bag. So the weird sounds that I was hearing, well, we've kind of been hearing them all night. It's weird. It's been kind of a spooky, I don't know, night around here. First of all, I joke and I say that we live in a retirement community, but we really kind of do live in a retirement community. I don't know, it's just, it's not like, I mean, it doesn't say retirement community or anything on there when you drive in. It's just, you know, condos, but we're isolated, so like nobody knows that we're back in here because we're in the middle of a neighborhood, and the condos have been around for a long time. There's literally probably only, I mean, I bet there's 60 to 80 condos in here. It's not big at all, and it's on 2 lakes, and then we have a pool and tennis courts. But the majority of the people that live in here, I would say, are retirement age to, like our neighbors that live right there, they just retired. It's us and my neighbor Laura and her roommate. And then there's like one mother in here, I think, that has like some younger kids, and that's it. They're like, the average age in here is retirement age to literally like when people pass away. And what's interesting is, so like we have a lot of people right around us that have just retired recently, and are super friendly. We got so lucky with our neighbors. So like they've moved in here, and this is like their home because they wanted to be closer to their kids. And so this is kind of like their home that they're gonna live in, you know, for the rest of their retirement or whatever. But most of them have like Florida homes or homes in Michigan and things like that, lake homes. And so people aren't here a lot in the winter. Like after Christmas, a lot of the people in here, like they go to Florida. And so it's kind of like empty in here, with the exception of just us right here. I don't know why, because none of us have Florida homes, and we're younger over here. I wish I had a Florida home. We don't yet, but you know, we're working on that. So anyway, it's just kind of like quiet on the streets. Like you don't see as many people as you usually do. Now the bordering like neighborhoods are all like younger people. They're like younger families. And so it feels very residential and active and stuff like that. But inside here, there's just not a lot of people like walking. There's not a lot of activity, you know, during the day after like from Christmas to like spring, because everybody goes to their homes in Florida, or, you know, I know a couple people in here have places like, I think like in Colorado, like ski homes. And I think like one person here I talked to, did they say Arizona maybe? I don't know. But anyway, a lot of people like go away and they're just like, you know, gone. So it's kind of desolate in here. And the other thing is, you never know when people are coming and going, because like somebody might be gone for like a week and then come back for 2 weeks and then be gone for a week. So you never know like who's here and when. But anyway, it's just been kind of quiet in here. And then I was talking to Tanya tonight, and so like we back up to a woods, and then there's like one house back there, and then it's woods that wrap all the way around. And so they're definitely like in the woods, because they have woods on the other side of them as well. It's like a beautiful home back in there. Actually, it's interesting because the people that live in that house, their parents were really good friends with my mom and my aunt, and like they had known them since like college age, and their parents. And the person that lives back there, the sibling, was the first people that bought the house that, when, like, my mom moved out of the house that I grew up in. Because there's, like, 6 siblings. Isn't that funny? That they would buy, like, my childhood home, and then the other sibling lives behind us here. Isn't that so strange? So anyway, but there's woods that wrap around us, so it's like you can't really, and then this is all like neighborhoods behind us, like all over here and all over like there. So this part is like woods. Well, it's really quiet back there. All you hear is the wind and stuff like that. So I was talking to Tanya tonight because we got back from brunch. I did my true crime book club. I'll talk about that in a second. And then, ooh, I just saw my this is why I don't like to sit here, because I get real scared. I just saw my hand reflect over there in the door. But anyway, Alex was like laying in bed and he was just like relaxing and stuff. He said he was gonna watch TV, but I don't even think he ended up watching TV. He was just like, I don't know what he was doing, looking at TikToks or something. So he was gonna watch Wonder Woman 1984, which he did end up watching. I watched the end of it. I really only wanted to see the Linda Carter cameo, and I saw that because he waited till the very end. I wanted to see how old she is. I was like, she still looks like really, really pretty, but you can tell, like Linda Carter she's still a gorgeous woman. But she's older. I was kind of surprised. I was like, I loved her when I was a little kid. So I was like, how old is she now? She's 69. I mean, she still looks fantastic, but I mean, she doesn't look 40 anymore. So anyway, but that was kind of cool to see her at the end. It was so funny because, so when I was a little kid, I wanted to be Wonder Woman. So we were laying in bed, and I hadn't been watching the movie, and there was like 45 minutes or half an hour left. I think I looked over at the TV, and there was like exactly 31 minutes left. And I said, I was joking to Alex, and I said, I was like laying on my back, and Boo Radley was right by my side, and like right here, and then Tucker was laying over here, and I said, I know how she flies. And he goes, oh, you do? Or something like that. And I go, yeah. And I go, she flies like this. And he goes, how do you know that? I go, because I wanted to be Wonder Woman when I was a little kid, and I like looked over the TV, and she had this like the gold lasso that she was like lassoing to swing everywhere, which I don't remember that's how it was in the TV show. She used to spin to become Wonder Woman too. I guess she didn't do that anymore. But anyway, I said, oh, I had a lasso of truth and everything. Have I ever shown that at an invisible plane? Okay, so my dad, because I wanted to be Wonder Woman so bad, I thought it was like for Halloween, but then I talked to him. He was like, no, it was more like Christmas time, maybe. I don't know, but he made me a Wonder Woman costume. You want to talk about a good dad, okay? Like, I wanted to be Wonder Woman. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and he took Hanes underwear, like a t-shirt or a tank, I think it was a tank top, or I don't know, it was a little t-shirt or anyway, and underwear, and he like took like markers and he drew on Wonder Woman's costume, and he made me like out of construction paper, like her thing around her head, and then I have this yellow string, and it's the funniest picture. Okay, so I always said that if I ever, I've talked about this on here before, like if I ever wrote my memoirs, I was going to title it, I always wanted to be Wonder Woman. Somebody else gave me the title, I'm Still That Kid. I can't remember who said that on here, but I love that title. So anyway, but I have this picture, and it's me, and I'm standing there, and I'm like holding this string, and the string is just like drooping to the floor. It doesn't look like anybody's lasso of truth, okay? It's just yellow string, and I'm in this costume, and I just look like so bitter and sour. It's like the fun, and I think I'm standing by the Christmas tree, and it's so funny, and it's like from the 70s, obviously, because I was born in 72, so it's like 76 or 77, and you can, I mean, you can really get the era in the picture, if that makes sense, and it would be like such a fantastic picture for like the cover of a book. I've always wanted to use it for that. But anyway, so before all that, like when I got done with the book club, I did a drama video about the Trisha Paytas stuff, and then I got that uploaded, and then I was done and Alex was watching TV and it was kind of like loud and stuff and I didn't want to just put my headphones on and I wasn't really tired to lay down at that time. So I was like, I'm gonna go drive around and listen to my audiobook for a little bit. And he was like, okay. So I had texted Tanya right before I left to see what she wanted to do and I was like, do you want to go get a fountain pop? And she was like, no, I think I'm in for the night. It's kind of cold and whatever. That was probably like an hour before. So anyway, I left and I like remembered something I wanted to tell Tanya. So I called her and she's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm getting ready to drive right by your house. And so she was like, well, come and get me and we'll go get a fountain pop. So we drove around for like an hour and we had fun. But I was talking to her about, I was telling her about seeing all these deer by her house the other night because I saw like 8 deer and they were all like on the side of the road. And sometimes like when I'm listening to audiobooks and whatever, I'll just stand or I'll just stop. I mean, because there's nobody out on the roads anyway, you know, on these side roads late at night. And I'll just stop and roll down my window and I'll say to like the deer, I'll be like, hey guys, how are you doing? And they all just kind of stand there. I think they're like such spiritual creatures and they'll just stand there and look at me. And then like, it's almost kind of like a wave comes over them. They all just kind of like turn and go at the same time. So I was telling her that they're right there by where she lives. And she's like, yeah, you and Eric can always spot animals at night. So Tanya has a lot of like wooded property on her acreage at the kennel too. And I always see deer and coyote out there. One night, Tanya and I were out there and this coyote was like kind of like running across. And I was like, Tanya, we need to get inside. She was like, oh my God, there is a coyote right there. She's like, how did you see it? So I was telling her that when we were coming home the other night, we saw a coyote. And she was like, make sure that you do not let Boo and Tucker just like run around because she was like, it's mating season right now. I was like, girl. And I was like, where did you hear that? And she was like, no, the city put out an email. The city that she lives in, Fishers, put out an email and said that keep your dogs inside because the next 2 or 3, I think it's the next 2 weeks, is mating season for coyotes. So I had told Alex this tonight and he was kind of joking with me. Well, then I heated up the rest of my fettuccine from Maggiano's when he was upstairs watching TV and I was watching The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City on my little iPad and I was sitting right by the sliding glass door in the chair. That's where I film all my videos and I sit there and watch TV too. My life doesn't get much more exciting except for right in front of that TV, right in that chair right there that I basically do everything, film videos and watch TV and everything. So now my butt is totally burning from this chair. It's like so warm. It's weird because like the steering wheel turns off. Yeah, see, the wheel's turned off. It like warms up and then it turns off. But it's nice, like when it gets going. And I have a heat vent right here that blows on my hands. So when I drive late at night, I can feel the heat vent right here. And I don't, like, it's nice to have this cooler one. I don't know why. But then it cools down after a while. So it's really nice because the steering wheel's warm and then I can feel the heat coming through. But anyway, I was telling Alex, and so he took the dogs outside and he walked out there with them. And when he came inside, I said, you need to be careful of the coyotes. And he goes, did you hear them? And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, I heard something in the woods. And I said, what was it like? And he was like, it was like, he was like, it was like, you know, something really, this weird sound that like a dog was making, which would either be like a dog getting attacked or coyotes mating. And so then I went over there and I listened and I didn't hear anything. But when I came out to come to my car, I heard like weird sounds of like dogs in the woods over there. So anyway, we'll just be taking Boo and Tucker out to the front yard because they don't go really any farther than their yard and our yard right here. So yeah, we won't be taking them further than that. I wanted to tell you guys something and it was funny. And then I was like, no, that's probably too much information. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you guys. So, last year, like, do you remember the whole toilet paper thing that happened? And, like, you know, buying products and everybody was buying all this kind of stuff. Okay, well, we got down to the wire, and, like, we were really, like, almost out of toilet paper. And so, and I was like, Tanya and I had gone somewhere to look, and they didn't have, like, any left except for just, like, one roll of, like, 4. And so I said to Alex, I said, can you stop on the way home and see if you can find toilet paper somewhere? And he was like, oh, no, I was like kind of freaking out about it. And I had a bunch of stuff to do that day or whatever. And I was like, I think that was right before they were getting ready to put us on the lockdown. And I said, can you find toilet paper somewhere? And he was like, yeah. So he stopped. He was real proud of himself. So he stopped at Office Depot. And I think I probably even talked about this on here. Okay, so we're coming up on like a year of this. This was like last March, right? What was that? Beginning, middle of to end of March. So almost a year ago. So I said, and Oh, and it happened to be around that time. It was either that same day or like, I think it was the same day that we both went there, because I ended up going to Costco and then they had some toilet paper and I ended up buying a big thing of toilet paper, which we've had in our basement ever since, okay? I don't know why, but we just had it down there. I don't know why we're not using it, and I'll explain to you why I say that. So Alex bought this huge thing of toilet paper, so we had 2 of them, right? And because we both bought them, that's what happened. We both bought them on the same day and we're like, okay, now we don't need these, right? Because we ended up talking to Sarah and asking Sarah if she needed any toilet paper, and because she wasn't going to go to the grocery store and all this kind of stuff, and she was like, no, I think I'm good, whatever. Her mom had gotten her some toilet paper. So anyway, Alex brought home, this is where I say I don't know why we haven't been using that other toilet paper, because the kind I got was like the Kirkland brand. That's basically like a Charmin knockoff. Is it Kirkland? Is that the brand from Costco? I feel like, no, that's Kirkland something else. Maybe it is Costco. But it's like the generic Charmin brand. And it's nice. It's nice toilet paper, okay? Well, Alex bought Scott, which is like what they use in like offices. You know what I'm talking about? And like, it's like, and at the airport and stuff like that. It's like literally like tissue paper that goes in shoe boxes. Like, and not good tissue paper either. And we've been using it, you guys. We are still using it for a year, okay? This is where people did not need to be stockpiling toilet paper. And we shouldn't have bought it on the same day, because I don't know how that ended up happening. But anyway, for a year now, I was like, we're going to use it because we have it. I'm not going to go through and go down to the basement and pull this other one up there because this is stupid. We just need to use it. You guys, this is the worst toilet paper in the entire world. I have been so bitter about this toilet paper for the last year and continue to use it. And I had this like come to Jesus moment tonight. And I was like, life is too short to use a toilet paper. Like, this is such an analogy for so many things in life. But I don't know why this is so funny to me, but it was like so serious at that moment. Do you ever just have these moments where you're like, okay, this is totally how I feel about it? I was like, life is too short for me to have used toilet paper that was miserable for the last year. Like, why have we been doing that? Because I cannot tell you how many times in the last year I've said to Alex, why did you ever buy this Scott toilet paper? This is like the worst toilet paper in the world. But we've kept on using it. Like, we've kept on using that. What is wrong with us? This horrible toilet paper we've kept on using. So anyway, it's kind of funny, isn't it? And then the other funny thing I was going to tell you, which is more too much information. I mean, I never get that too much information-y, you know what I mean? But we were laying in bed tonight, and Alex was being kind of silly and stuff like that, and I was laying on my back, and I was joking with him, and all of a sudden I smell, and I knew it had to be Tucker because he was laying in between, and Tucker is just the king too of like, well, 2 things he does. He is the king of like laying there like, what, who, me? And he lays this like horrible, horrible stinky fart, right? And the other thing that he does, and it's kind of cute, but like sometimes, but like Tucker will fart real loud. He'll be like, like that, and then he scares himself and he goes and he runs because he's like, what is that? He doesn't know, right? So we were laying there in bed, and all of a sudden this just horrible rotten sulfur egg smell just comes floating like right from here, like right in my, I go, get Tucker's butt out of my face. My God, he just laid a fart on me. And I go, can you smell that? And he goes, no, because the fan is going into your face. I go, get that stinky fart butt out of my face. That's horrible. Alex was laughing so hard. I mean, we were like almost hysterically laughing in bed. We kept on talking about this dog fart for about 10 minutes. And then Alex was like, well, I think it's you because you were the one that smelled it. I said, that is the worst gas I have ever smelled in my entire life. That poor dog, I don't know what's going on. And the thing is that we don't ever feed them anything different. I mean, they eat the same food every single day. The only variation is ever that they get is treats, and it's literally like a steak carry-out versus a chicken, you know, the carry-out brand of treats. That's what they eat. It's like chicken or steak, which maybe that's what's causing the farts. I don't know. But it's never done it before. Oh my God, it was miserable. I said, I cannot lay here in bed and try to relax. And Alex goes, well then go vlog if you don't want to lay here with the farts. And I go, isn't it driving you crazy? And he goes, no. He goes, I can't smell it. So I was like, whatever, I'm out of here. Because the way that I had the fan stationed, it was like coming straight at my face. But then like Alex, it wasn't like hitting him at all. I was like, how is this even possible? Oh my God, it was true misery. So We had a good day today, though. We got up and we went to Cafe Patisserie for brunch, and I had a gluten-free waffle with potatoes, but I didn't eat very many of my potatoes. And then I had fruit and coffee. He just brought our coffee. I don't know what it was today. I thought that was kind of weird. They usually come out and ask us because I'll have like a flavored coffee, but he just brought us our coffee today because he knows our order. And so, although like I had mixed it up with the gluten-free waffle because I've been doing that instead of getting an omelet. So anyway, and then Alex got the Cuban breakfast. He also got turkey chili. And then I had the live book club at 4. Before that, I talked to a couple people on the phone. I started talking about somebody, and I don't know if they want me to be talking about them or not. So anyway, so Alex fed the dogs, and I was talking on the phone before I did my true crime book club, and then he was like, I'm just gonna rest for the rest of the day. So he was like laying in bed resting, and I lit a bunch of candles, and he watched something. I don't know what he was watching. At one point I said, he was laughing so hard, and I go, what are you laughing at? And he said, he and his uncle were texting back and forth about something. Oh, I know what it is. Alex bought his grandma all these frames for Christmas. This was kind of cute. He bought all of these frames for his grandma for Christmas, like really nice frames. And then when he was out in San Diego it was when I went and I met Mel, and Alex was in San Diego. Alex's cousin Maya has a friend that's a photographer, and she, I think, lives in San Diego. So she took all these pictures of them on the beach. They're fantastic. She took pictures of like Alex and Maya and Fufu, and then Alex and Maya and Jesse and Fufu, and then Jesse and Fufu and Maya and Alex. It was all these pictures, and they're black and white, and they're gorgeous. So Alex, for Christmas, he got a bunch of frames, and for like his mom and his aunt and all these people, but like his grandma, he got like 4 or 5 of them. And his uncle was like taking pictures because like of all of the frames that Alex like gave her, and he gave her like the pictures, and then she could put which ones she wanted to in there. She didn't put any of the pictures with Alex and Alex in the pictures, it's all like other people in the pictures in the frames that he bought for his grandma. And he was laughing so hard about it. His grandma, like, her bedroom is literally like, I mean, there's enough pictures of Alex, let me just tell you, okay? It's literally like all the kids and grandkids, pictures everywhere. And so Alex was like, I said, you should tell your grandma, I said, you should get her a frame and put it, just a picture of you in it, like an 8x10. Just you, and you should say, Abuela, this is because you didn't use my frames for the pictures of me, or something like that. He got laughing so hard, but anyway, we were having a good time. His grandma is such a sweetheart. I love her so much. For 90 years old, you know, she just keeps on going and going and going. They do these date nights now. Did I tell you guys about this? So Alex has been taking his grandma out for a date like every 3 weeks. It's really sweet. And he takes her like just to some kind of like new kind of fun trendy restaurant, which I think is really cool that he does that too. I mean, it's not like, I mean, he could take her anywhere, right? But like he takes her to like some fun trendy restaurant that he thinks that she'll really enjoy. And then they sit there for like 2 or 3 hours, and they have a couple of, you know, glasses of wine and dinner. And he asks her all kinds of stuff about her life, because he's like, I really want to get to know my grandma, you know, like she's 90, I don't know how long she's gonna be here and stuff. And I think it's just fantastic, and they have the best date nights ever, and I love that he does that. His grandma is just, she is just absolutely fantastic. I love her. I adore that woman. And you wouldn't know that she was 90 years old. I mean, she is still like dancing, and she is so much fun. And she is so good to all of them too. She is so sweet to all of them. So anyway, and then, was that it? Then I came home after, then I went and got Tanya, and we had a fountain pop and drove around for a while. It was so funny because I was going to like turn around at this one point because I kind of thought she wanted to go home. And I said, I'm going to turn around at such and such place. And she goes, oh, you can't go the extra 2 minutes to drive through Noblesville Square. I go, girl, I can drive for hours if you want to. Trust, I do it every night. And she was, she started laughing. She's like, no, I can go home after that. I just wanted to see the square because it's so pretty. I said, Tanya, she's always like, we should walk the square in Noblesville and get lunch and go shopping. I'm like, okay. It's all of these kind of like crafty kind of stores. And like, it's very much a cozy mystery, right? Which I would love to live in a cozy mystery town, and I would love to be, you know, in the middle of a cozy mystery. Maybe as a detective, figuring the case out. Maybe not like, you know, in the cozy mystery so much. But like, I mean, to go in those stores, I don't really know, like, I've been in them before, what to buy. Like, I don't buy a bunch of, like, antique-y stuff for in my house. We have enough of that stuff in our house anyway. We don't need any more of it. What was I gonna say? Had the True Crime Book Club. So fun today. We had quite a few people in there. I mean, we never, like, it's never tons of people. I mean, it's not like, I mean, you'd think with a book club of over 3,300 people in a Facebook group that we literally have hundreds of people. No, we have like, it's like 50 to 100, which is, we had a good amount of people tonight, and it was about 50 to 60, I would say, the majority of the time. Towards the end, it dropped a little lower than that. But just to think that 50 to 60 people have read the book and they say consistently, and I mean, other than a few people that are probably just hanging out, you know. I think the majority of the people had read the book, and we talked about the Casey Anthony case, and it was really interesting. I thought we had some great discussions. Manal came in there. Oh, you know what? I wanted to show this. Well, I showed it in my live book discussion, so, because I took it out of, it's sitting on the counter. If I remember, I'll show it in another vlog, but Manal sent me these lip balms. You know, like the giant lip balms I like? She sent me those, but one was, I think, Bubblicious, and the other one is, like, Nerds. The third one I have had before, but the first two, I haven't had those before, so I'm really excited about those because I love to use those in my videos. What's so funny is, lately, like, when I've thrown them over my shoulder, I can't find them, and I'm, like, looking all over the kitchen, and they're, like, stuck in, like, a corner. Sometimes I throw them behind me, and they go into a box in the kitchen. They, like, just land right in a box. Isn't that so funny? And then she got me, and I know she watches the vlog, so, Manal, I love you. This was so generous. You were so nice. She sent me, a book journal for the book club. It's called the Book Club Journal. Is that not so cool? And I had thought originally that I would just use it for Peter's book club, but I think I'm going to use it because there's like quite a few. It's like every 2 pages is like a new book to enter. So I think I'm going to use it for a True Crime Book Club and for this, because it's like an area to use notes, like when you started the book, when you finished the book, all this stuff. So I think I'm going to put the Casey Anthony book in there, so it'll be like all the books for book clubs in January. Because sometimes, like, Mel and I will be talking, and I'll be like, what did we read last March? And then she'll be like, yeah, I can't remember. And then I'll be like, we'll go through all the months, and then I'll say, well, what did I think about it? Did I like it? Did I not like it? Because it's hard to, you know, just off of a 5-star rating. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to go in there, and, like, I'm going to do the January book for True Crime Book Club, which was Casey. Well, no, Casey Anthony was... Oh, this will be perfect, because January's book is Devil's Knot, about the West Memphis 3. So that'll be the first True Crime Book Club that I put in there. True Crime Book Club book that I put in there. And then Saint X by Alexis Shakin. I'm going to put that one in there too. So that will be really cool. Yeah. I did almost a repeat of last night, but I was just like looking stuff up on BookTube. And then it was like when I was talking to Melissa. And then I just was sitting here. And then all of a sudden I like looked up and I was like, how long have I been just like sitting here looking at my phone? So I'm just going to cut all of that out. But anyway, I was talking about the book journal and stuff that Manal got me. I'm like really enjoying putting like a lot of time and effort back into BookTube and reading again and all of that kind of stuff. Like I'm really loving it. And I told Alex tonight, I said, you should read a book this year. He was like, why? He goes, for you. I go, I'm just saying that it would be good, you know? And he goes, for what? He's like, if I don't want to read a book. I was like, if you don't want to read a book, don't read a book. I don't care. I said, I'll read an extra book for you. He goes, okay, you do that. But you know what's funny is that when Alex and I got together, he really did enjoy reading. Like, we would go to brunch on Sundays, and then we would go to the bookstore in Barnes & Noble. And I can remember I always thought, like, it would be so romantic, you know, to, like, go to brunch and then go to a bookstore and, like, get a coffee and, like, walk around and, like, just look at books and all this kind of stuff, you know, and then, like, go home and, like, you know, be romantical and take a nap. It would be like, and then read your book in the evening. And that's, like, literally what we did on Sundays back in the day. And, like, I mean, not every Sunday, but a lot of Sundays we would, because it was right over Barnes & Noble, which I think maybe that time, was it Barnes & Noble or was it Borders? I don't know. Was over, I think it was Barnes & Noble always, wasn't it? Where was Borders? Now I can't even remember. I'm losing my mind, you guys. So anyway, but when we first started dating, like, Alex really, really loved the Augustin Burroughs books. And it was, like, no BS. Like, he didn't make it up. Like, he had read the books. Because, like, we sat and we talked about them, like, on dates and stuff. And he also really liked Chelsea Handler's books. One of them I bought him. We were somewhere where we were at. And he liked that. Like, his, Are You There, God? It's Me Vodka or something by Chelsea Handler. And then he really liked Tucker Max, who wrote I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. He likes those kind of like sarcastic memoirs. He really likes those. Although I wouldn't necessarily consider Augustin Burroughs like a sarcastic memoir writer, but he's not tongue-in-cheek. He's not a comedian. But Alex loves that stuff. So he would get those books and he would look through those and whatever. And then but often, I would just, like, look around because I just loved being in a bookstore. I mean, I love being... It's, like, the same as a library to me. I love being in the bookstore. And so, I would just, like, you know, walk around and look, and then we would, you know, get coffee or whatever, and he would sit, like, with his coffee and just, like, get a bunch of magazines and read them or something. And it was just... It was so perfect on Sunday. I mean, he would still do that. If I said to him today, do you want to go to the bookstore? What he would probably say is, I want to go home and take a nap. Why don't you drop me off? Then you can go back to the bookstore and be there as long as you want. That's kind of what happens as you get older, you know, in the relationship. But, so that both people can be happy. But he would do it if I asked him today. He'd be like, yeah, let's go over to the bookstore. But anyway, I always thought that was so much fun when we first got together. He doesn't really like to read as much anymore. And I bought him a couple books that I thought that he would like. I bought him an Augustin Burroughs one, and then somebody gave him, literally like 2 years ago, that Malcolm something book that's called Blank. This is the kind of stuff that he's really into reading now. He's like really into reading, because he reads a lot of articles. Like, my husband reads tons of articles. He's constantly sending me articles, like, of stuff that and I'm not talking, like, People magazine. I'm talking about, like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm talking about, like, business articles about this and about that, and he's constantly reading stuff, you know, about the business world and marketing and, you know, on and on and on. He just loves all of that stuff. And he's very intrigued with all of it. So he's always reading articles about that, or he'll find something like, he'll be like, it's so funny and so random, because he's very much like my mom and my dad are both kind of like that, or my mom was like this, with like nonfiction. Like, my dad will find something he's interested in and then, like, read everything on that topic, but it'll be a real obscure topic. And Alex is kind of like that too. Like, he'll be going through like Instagram, and he'll see a picture of like a hotel in like Indonesia that he wants to go stay, right? And like, he'll say, oh my god, it's like beautiful, this like area, because he's like, okay, my husband's biggest dream right now is to go to Thailand so that we can go see all the temples and stuff. And like, he's really into all of that, and so he's constantly reading these articles, and then he'll tell me like, oh my god, this temple and blah 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 blah, such in place, and he knows about all the islands there and like what they represent and all this kind. I mean, he's constantly reading about all of that kind of stuff, which is really interesting, you know. But yeah, like, he would rather do that and read like articles here and there, or stuff that people send him, versus like reading a whole book. Like, he doesn't enjoy that anymore, and that's, you know, whatever. Like I said, I don't have a lot of people in my life that like to read, and that's okay. So it's nice to, on BookTube or, you know, my book club, have people that like passionately read. Like, you know, it's fun. Like, I was talking to Tanya about this tonight. She's like, you love that book club so much, don't you? I said, I love the book club. Because for like, I mean, we went for like an hour and a half, 2 hours today. It's like, for an hour and a half and 2 hours, you know, it's like, I get to just be like, part of this book club, you know, and just like share my opinion. And then people come in, Misha came in, Manal came in, and Karen came in, and just kind of be, and you know, like, I consider them friends, and I know them, you know, through the book club, and we joke with each other, and we're sarcastic, and Mel and I are like shady to each other jokingly, you know, and, I don't think people really have any idea the brother-sister relationship that Mel and I have, like how deeply I love her. I really, really do. I know sometimes it comes across, because Karen said that she loves like watching us like argue. Hey Karen, I love you. Karen watches. I think Karen, Misha, and Manal all watch my vlog, but so thank you. But Karen said something tonight about she loves like watching us joke, argue with each other because we're being sarcastic to each other. But like, Mel and I, she has been the greatest thing that has ever come as a result of BookTube. Like, I love her on a level of somebody that I didn't think that I would ever know or get. I mean, she lives in a completely different state from me, you know? I never thought I would meet her. That's all my husband's doing, which was so fantastic, you know, to arrange that whole thing behind my back, and it was a surprise and I loved it, you know? But, I don't know. And the thing I love about Mel is that we don't always agree on stuff, you know? Like, we have very differing opinions about things, and we'll, like, talk about, like, with, you know, books and whatever, and we'll talk about them. And, I mean, we don't, really, to be honest, other than true crime, Mel and I don't like the same books at all. It's kind of funny. Except I think that we might have found a common interest with this kind of like mystery detective cozy mystery thing, because she loves the Janet Ivanovich books, and she was telling me that a Janet DeLeon book, Misfortune book, got recommended to her because she likes the Janet Ivanovich books. And I'm getting ready to start the Janet Ivanovich Stephanie Plum books as soon as I finish the Misfortune series, which I just started the 17th book last night because I finally finished that book. It really wasn't that bad at the end. I ended up giving it 3 stars. The end of it kind of redeemed itself, but had a pack for the end of the world. The characters were kind of lovable by the end, and I thought it was kind of a well put together. It was okay. It just, you can see I think it was kind of a well put together story, and then I kind of like blend off because I don't know that I feel that way. I thought some pieces were tied nicely together and the other pieces didn't. I didn't really understand why what was going on was going on. It was never really fully explained. Like, I mean, kind of, but not really for the deep-seated stuff that was going on. There were a lot of very serious issues in the book. But I thought it was interesting. I'm glad I read it, you know. I wanted to read something different than the Misfortune series, because I can tell you when I started that last night, I almost didn't. I almost started a different book. I think I was going to start Saint X last night. And then I was like, no, go in and do the Misfortune series, and let's just get it done, and let's finish it and catch up, because at least you'll feel like you completed that, right? And I started it, and right away I missed Fortune, Ida Bell, and Gertie. I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize how much I missed them until I was like sitting there, you know, like listening to the book last night, and I was like, god, I really missed them. By the way, this is what I was gonna say. I don't know what got me thinking about this tonight, but Tanya, like a year and a half ago, she had gone to David's Tea because she wanted to drink tea because she thinks it's healthier than soda and coffee and all this kind of stuff, which agreed it is, right? So she had bought like she bought like 4 kinds of teas. They had like, she bought like they even had like a weight loss tea. She bought a weight loss tea, but then it was like other teas. And she bought this one that's called, I think it's called Forever Nuts. It's so fantastic, you guys. It's one of my favorite things, not even tea, but favorite things I've ever had in my life. And then she bought this thing that is so cool that you use over a mug to make tea. So Alex and I, when we were at Warby Parker getting our glasses, or he was getting his glasses fixed and I was ordering mine, there used to be a David's Teas right like 2 down from there, right? And it is so hot, but like I don't want to roll down my window while I'm sitting in the driveway because that freaks me out, like I said. There's like light snow on the ground. It's like weird snow too. It's almost kind of like chalk snow or something. But anyway, I'm gonna roll it up so somebody can't stick their hand in there. No, seriously, look, see, so that they can't get their hand in there. But anyway, I mean, I'm like literally 20 feet away from my neighbors who are like probably sitting in their living room watching TV. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I noticed that the David's Tea place was gone. And this is real interesting, right? So there used to be a David's Tea in the mall. And I noticed that the David's Teas was gone. And I never shopped there. I would go in there sometimes and look around, but I'd never shopped there. It was kind of overwhelming when you walked in there. There were all these kind of tea, like, things, and they would have to help you come in and scoop it out. It was just a lot, right? That's a lot of work for me, like in a store. But the store was very cool. And I always got, actually somebody sent me one time, and then the other year I bought one, and it was the Advent calendar. Well, it has all these different trial teas in it. And one of them I gave to Sarah, I think 1.5 of them, because I just wasn't drinking tea anymore. So I ended up giving them to Sarah, because Sarah loves tea. And, so anyway, I was thinking about it tonight, and I was like, you know, with the cozy mysteries and all this kind of stuff, when I was growing up as a kid, I loved tea. In fact, I was looking this up because I loved, what is going on here? Oh, it's playing this going on? It's playing this stupid song. Okay. One of my favorite teas ever is this. I can't pronounce this. Lapsang Souchong. I can't find a good version of this. If anybody knows where to find a good version of that, can you let me know? It doesn't have to be loose tea. In fact, for that, I would probably prefer tea bags. But I can't find it anywhere, right? And I loved it when I was a kid, and I would drink it with like a little bit of milk or honey in it. I love honey in my tea. And I was big into teas when I was a kid, like Earl Grey. I mean, we always had tea at home, and I was always making tea. And I think it was because I liked to read, like, when I was growing up, I liked to read like all the old like Sherlock Holmes, or like the Charles Dickens. But you know, I thought like I was living in that kind of era. You know, at times, like in the winter. The Winter of Our Discontent, but that wasn't by Charles Dickens. I think that was by Steinbeck, right? So anyway, was it by Steinbeck? I shouldn't say that as an English major and then be completely wrong. Who wrote The Winter of Our Discontent? Let's Google that. Thank God for Google, right? I'm almost, somebody out there, I bet you anything it's Karen is shouting, it was Steinbeck. The Winter, she's probably like, it's Steinbeck, it's Steinbeck. Yeah, it was Steinbeck. It was his last novel published in 1961. I thought Travels with Charlie was his last novel. Didn't he write a book called Travels with Charlie? About him and his dog going across country? It was like one of my mom's favorite books. It said it came out in 1962 travelogue. Well, well, it was a travelogue, not a novel. I get it. Okay. I've never read that book, and I heard it was fantastic. So anyway, I should put that on my reading list. I should read some Steinbeck. I don't know why. I've never loved it in the back. I can remember we had to read Grapes of Wrath and I thought I was dying. But anyway, tonight I was thinking about that tea store, and I was like, oh, what was so funny was when we were, it wasn't funny, but when we were in the mall, it's not there anymore, but in its place is another tea store. It's called like Tea Spell or something like that. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, it's called something, Tea something. It might be Tea Spell, I have no idea. But it was something witchy-poo magical like that. I mean, it looked kind of like it looked like a cool store, but it basically looked like I honestly thought it was David's Teas rebranded. I mean, it was the same. I was like, did they just get bought out by somebody else? What happened here? Like, did they just change their name? What's going on here? So tonight I was thinking about it when I was laying in bed watching Wonder Woman 1984. I don't even know what got me thinking about the tea. But anyway, or was it something that I was reading? I don't remember. But I've been kind of thinking that like this summer, I would like to drink more iced tea than coffee. I mean, drink coffee, but still, but iced tea as well, right? And different flavors. And I got thinking about that Forever Nuts, of which I have just a little bit of it left. And we have a bunch of loose leaf tea because I go through a period about once a year where I just go to Whole Foods and other places and I buy a bunch of like loose leaf tea because I love to make like, you know, loose leaf tea. So anyway, I got on David's Teas, the website, and I'm like, oh, they still do exist. So I ordered a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna tell you what I ordered because I'm gonna do a haul on my review channel. But needless to say, I spent quite a pretty penny. But I got some really cool stuff. They're having great sales over there right now. They have all this stuff. It's like last chance. And it's literally like their teas, like prices, like cut in half. I couldn't believe it. I also got some like, well, I don't want to say what I got, but some other things to go, you know, like teaware, so to speak. But then I was like looking to see where their stores were and I couldn't find where they had a tab. And so I said like search for, or David T's store search or something like that. And it came up with this Google and I looked it up and it was like this map. And so I put in Indianapolis, Indiana. It said, sorry, we can't find a location in that area. So I typed and I put Chicago, Illinois. I just typed Illinois and it said, sorry, we have no, and I'm like, they don't have a David's Tea in Chicago? Like, seriously? So I put New York, New York, and it can't, well, I put New York and it was like New York, New York, America, and or United States. And so I put that in there and it said, sorry, we can't find any. I was like, what is going on? So I saw that all of the opening stores that they have are like a few in Canada, or like, it was Canada, because it was like Vancouver. And then there was like one other place, and then the rest of the places were in the UK. And I was like, what is going on here? So I Google searched it. They closed it said Canada, most of their Canada, and all of their I think it was like 42 stores in the United States. It's like 166 stores total that they closed. And that they're going more for, because like they're closing all the brick and mortar stores, apparently. Which I guess that means where you go in. Is that what we call that now? I've heard people say brick and mortar so much in the last year. David's Tees closed. It was literally like just this like article thing, and it was like real short, and it just said that they closed. Oh, here it is. Quebec-based retail chain David's Tea, which opened a store at the Fashion Mall at Keystone in 2015, has permanently closed the location and is exiting the U.S. market altogether as it struggles to regain its financial footing. Reported a loss of $23.6 million. So sad, isn't it? They closed all 42 of its U.S. locations. 166 stores in Canada. You guys, that is so sad. It was originally 82 stores in Canada, and then it said 166. Wait. David's Tea's only reopening 18 stores as it shuts down 166 Canadian locations, and that's on CTV News, which I guess is Canada. Isn't that so sad? All these places closing down. It really breaks my heart. But anyway, I ordered a bunch of their stuff tonight anyway. I hope their website stays open. It makes me sad, all these businesses closing, you know? That's Salt Lake City, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. That's like heating up. It's getting good. I'm gonna change the battery, hold on. That battery was so hot, it was like burning up. Okay, I think I'm gonna go and drive for a little bit. I kind of like starting them and doing them in the driveway though. It's been kind of nice the last 2 nights. Somebody said in the comment section, they said I get least distracted as long as I don't get on my phone while I'm sitting here, right? But like, or you know, texting Melissa or Googling stuff. But I do get less distracted, and time flies when I'm just sitting there, which is the craziest thing. You would think that it would seem like it was so much longer just sitting in a driveway talking to somebody, but it's not the case. I made my list for tomorrow already. I'm gonna try to. I've got videos already planned out for every channel tomorrow. So if you only see one video go up on one channel tomorrow, you'll know, well, Peter woke up and he didn't feel like doing anything. Because I've got 6 videos planned for tomorrow. The only one I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing yet is my, I'm gonna do a Starbucks review on my review channel. But I don't know which one yet. There's a bunch of like Valentine's Day secret menu drinks. And I think it'd be, oh, there's also a sandwich, a breakfast sandwich at Dunkin' Donuts I've been wanting to try. It's like a, it's kind of like a variation of something else they have. I saw it on their website that they have it. And then I have to mail this suitcase back to Patagonia. It's like this huge suitcase. I keep on meaning to do it. And, I asked Alex tonight, I was like, I don't know where there's like a, you know, a UPS store. And he was like, well, you just Google it. And I was like, yes. And he was like, but there's one right up the street. He told me where it's at. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, so I need to do that tomorrow. And then I have tomorrow night my literature meeting. Unless for some reason it would get canceled or I decided to skip a week. I haven't skipped a week on there in a while, but because there were 2 weeks that we didn't have it. Because when my friend, she'd take her mom to the airport and she had to pick her mom up from the airport. But I always feel so good when I'm done, like, with my literature meeting. I'm always like racing kind of to get there. It's like, I'm like rushing, you know, and running around the house, like, because I like to have candles lit and have the whole thing be really nice. And then it's like, you know, to sit down and get there. And then I get there, and then I'm like so happy. I like love to do the literature group with my friends. It's so nice. You know, my mom was part of this like for a period of her life. She never really told me much about it, but I know she really liked it. It was like this Bible study group that she was part of. And, you know, my mom was a woman of really strong faith. I wouldn't say that she was a Bible thumper. She kept her beliefs pretty private unless somebody wanted to have a conversation with her. But she was a woman of pretty strong faith. But she wasn't like somebody that like preached it from the mountaintop. I mean, it was very private to her. But she really did enjoy like studying the Bible. And she read a lot of like Christian literature, like The Way of the Pilgrim, and some of C.S. Lewis's stuff she liked. And, you know, there were a lot of those kinds of books that she liked. Now, later in life, because my mother was very interested in Eastern religions, and she had read a lot of Chinese and Japanese literature, and so she was interested in a lot of those, like Buddhism and Hinduism. And she read this book. I think I may have gotten it for her or found it for her. I don't know, but it was called Living Buddha, Living Christ. And it was basically about how, and she loved this book, but it was basically how Buddha and Christ were both figureheads for love, compassion, and forgiveness, kindness, you know? And that they were, on some level, both, like, seeking the same. And, I think my mom liked the peace and serenity and tranquility that came. But I don't think that she knew, like, she had read a lot about those. I mean, she could sit down there and have a conversation with you. My mother had taken so many world religion classes, like, she knew everything about, like, Islam and, you know, Judaism and, you know, even, like, what is the one that's, the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalism, things like that, in a way that, like, when she would talk to me about it, it was, like, way over my head. But, you know, she found comfort in this Bible group that she was Bible study, and I can remember, I don't really know who was in it or where they went or whatever. I just knew that she went over to some lady's house every once in a while, and they did Bible study, but she really liked it. And I can remember I would talk to her sometimes in those days. It's kind of faint. I don't really remember. She's like, oh, I feel great. We had Bible study today. And my mom, she loved going to church on Sunday because she felt that it started her week off on a positive note. She loved to hear the sermon and, like, give her something to think about. But mostly my mom liked hymns. My mom loved the church hymns. And she felt like it really started her on a week of, you know, very much for me, like how I feel like going to meetings is like for me, you know, that if you've ever gone to a 12-step meeting or been involved in a 12-step program and you're not resistant to it and you like it, you can probably relate to that feeling of it almost being like a religious experience when you leave, especially when you first get sober. It's like you feel kind of like full of spirit when you leave, whatever that spirit is to you, whatever that means to you, right? But you feel like full of life, full of spirit, in a way that I think many people feel when they go to church. I've never had that experience going to church, but I can tell you that I had, to me, at times, and I still do at times, what I would say is kindred to a religious or spiritual experience. Not a religious, because I'm not a religious person, but I mean like, not in the traditional definition, but you know what I mean? Like a spiritual experience leaving a meeting after having gone, you know, just I feel like my soul has been reawakened, you know? And there's reawakened, has been awakened, you know? And there's just no other feeling like it. And I think religion and spirituality is such a private thing. Like, I don't mind talking to people about it, you know? I mean, I'm a very, very spiritual person, probably more than people know. I am a vast believer in prayer. In the power of prayer, I really believe in. I have a very strong relationship with who I consider my higher power. Which isn't some weirdo or wacky beliefs that people would be like, I mean, if I sat down and talked to you about it, you'd be like, that makes total sense to me, and it very much aligns with a lot of other religions. So I don't think that it would be that off from what a lot of people believe. It's just personally it's in my own language. You know, and I choose not to follow any doctrine that has been suggested to me by a church. That's my choice. But at the same time, I highly respect anybody that wants to follow religious doctrine as long as it's not hurtful to other people, you know? And that it is supportive and loving and kind. And, I mean, I have a lot of friends of mine that are very active. I mean, it's hard to be in recovery and not have a lot of people in sobriety are really involved in church too, you know? And they're really involved in, like, both. And, what did my friend say the other day? He said, now I have to kind of edit this down how he said it, but basically, I mean, he identifies as a Christian going to church, but he said, we were talking about this, and he said, going to 12-step meetings makes him a better Christian, and going to church makes him a better 12-step member. And I thought that was a really interesting attitude, you know, and I believe that to be true. I really, really do. You know, and I've never, like, my husband is a complete atheist. I don't know if you guys know that, but I think he's more open now because he's had some kind of spiritual experiences in his life. And he has his reasons that are very personal to why he doesn't believe in anything. And they make sense to me, why he doesn't. And he comes from a very devout Catholic family. And no, it has nothing to do with him being gay. People always ask that, like, oh, is he an atheist because he comes from a Catholic? No, it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It has to do with making sense of things that happened. Somebody close to him was killed, and he has never been, and this person was like a good person, and he's never been able to really make sense of that. I think I've talked about that in a video, in regards to some things. Anyway, so he's more open, I would say, now than he was. And you know what's interesting is, like, people are always like, how are you, because people in my personal life know how spiritual I am, because I'll say things like, oh, that's a God moment, or that's a God thing, oh, that happened because that's a God thing, like, oh, God's talking to you. I say things like that in my life. Like, people in my personal life, they don't find that weird because I talk like that all the time. But that's probably weird to you because I don't talk like that in my videos very often, you know what I mean? Because I also know that depending on the language we hear, somebody might not hear your message. And there was a time in my life when I know that I don't mean that from a religious point of view, but other people will hear it from that point of view. And if somebody had said that to me, I don't know that I would have heard it back in the day because I was kind of closed off, you know? Even though I look back and I never had any horrible experiences with church growing up. I had nice experiences with church growing up. You know, it was a loving place. But I think I just had that authority beat into me when I was younger about just resist, resist, resist. Church, authority, school, everything, you know? And that was part of it. Question everything. And I don't feel that way today, and I respect people that, you know, have their, as long as they don't, like, want to beat it into my face about what they believe, you know? I think it's, if I ask, I think that's a different story, but, you know, I'll never forget when I first met Jason and Melissa, and we had gone over to their house. It was literally like the third time we had seen them, and we were, like, she had us over there for, like, pizza or something, and it was literally the four of us, and it was, like, Saturday night or something, and I said, I can't remember how it came up, but something came up about them going to church the next day. And I said, oh, I didn't know that you guys were, like, active in a church. And I asked them what church they go to, which is a pretty liberal church here in Indianapolis. It's a good church. I mean, I don't know what's a good church or about. I mean, it's just a church that a lot of people, it's got a lot of members, but it's a well-known church in Indianapolis. And I said, oh, I know a lot of people that go to that church. And she said, and I'll never forget, Melissa looked at me and she said, do you guys go to church? And Alex kind of, like, you know, was like, no, I don't, I'm an atheist or something like that. And she was like, oh, okay. Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier. Like, what's interesting is that my husband is so respectful of my spiritual beliefs. Like, he has said to me at times, like, babe, like, I think maybe you really should pray on that. Or, like, you know, do you know, like, I really think that you need to, like, think about, like, where is God in that? Like, even though he doesn't believe it, he knows that I believe it and can speak to me in the same language. And people are always so surprised at how we can get along with me being so spiritual and him being, like, lack of spirituality. And the thing is this, is that just because somebody does not believe in a religion or a faith or a God does not mean that they don't have spirit or soul, okay? I mean, that is, like, you can't take that away from somebody. And my husband has compassion and love in his heart in a way that I have seen many people out there, many Christians lack. So I don't necessarily believe that you have to have that belief system. I don't believe that at all. That you have to have that belief system to be a loving, caring person, or that you can allow somebody else to have that. And it works magically in our relationship. That's like been something we've never had any problems with, you know? So anyway, I was talking to Melissa that day and whatever, and Alex kind of made some joke about, oh no, I'm an atheist, and Peter doesn't want to get up early enough or something like that. And she was like, is that right? Like, to me. And I said, I mean, it's kind of that. Like, I don't really want to get up that early on a Sunday morning. And I said, and quite frankly, like, I don't get a lot from church anyway, you know? And she said, she's like, did you grow up going to church? And I said, yeah. I mean, we talked about it like 2 minutes, right? And I was like, yeah, every Sunday until I was like 15 or 16. And then like my parents kind of let me decide what I wanted to do at that point. And they're not like Bible thumpers. They're not hardcore. I mean, I can think like maybe 3 times in our entire friendship over 9-10 years now, maybe 5 times that we've had spiritual religious conversations. Probably Melissa and I more have than others. But Melissa's somebody that I would say that to, like that's a God moment or God's in that or whatever. But I'll never forget, she said to me that day, she said, well, if you ever decide that you want to, she said, you're always more than welcome to come with us. Our church would love to have you. And, you know, just call me up and let me know. And I looked at her and I said, I have never had anybody just be so kind of very smooth about it, you know, and be like, hey, if you're interested, come. And if you're not, hey, no problems, but I'm here. And if you want to ever, you know, it was so welcoming that if I ever was to go to a church, honest to God, Melissa would be the first person that I would call. And I'd say, I think that I want to go to your church. Here's the thing, okay? I don't know that there's not going to be a time. This vlog, I was almost going to stop the vlog and then got real deep, didn't it? I don't know that there's not going to be a time that I need to physically lean on God in a place of worship. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but, you know, I did okay with my mom when, you know, but I was surrounded in love with people that were in the 12-step program, her friends and my friends. You know, hopefully that will always be the case through whatever I go through, but like, I can't say that there won't be a moment that I don't need to go sit in a chapel or a church. I find some churches to be very peaceful places. I don't know that there won't be a moment that I don't need to go sit there, or, you know, just like I've talked on here before about wanting to go like to a Christmas mass of just like Christmas. I think I probably would have done it this year if there were churches that were open, more churches that were open that could do that, where it was just a hymn service. I would love to do that. But there may be a moment in my life where I need to sit, not maybe in a church service, but in a church and just be silent. You know, I'm a believer in the bumper sticker that says, you don't have to park a car in a garage to be a car or whatever, and you don't have to be in a church to be a Christian, I mean, or to be a person of faith or whatever, be spiritual. Do you guys know, every time I talk about this, somebody always sends me that bumper sticker, so thank you. But somebody will comment it below what the sticker is, the saying. And I'm a believer in that. Like, I don't have to be a person of spirit and soul and be a child of God I don't have to be in a church for that, right? But there may be a moment where that's comforting to me. I know when Alex's stepbrother passed away, our marriage was tanking, and I didn't know which way was up, and I felt like I was losing my family on his side. And I can remember sitting in that church service for his stepbrother's funeral, and it was at Christ Church Cathedral in the Circle, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful service. It was literally the epitome of what you think of in a celebration of life. It was happy and joyous. And I can remember sitting there, and you know, it was like right after Christmas, and so there was like garland up and down the aisles, and there was red ribbon and burgundy ribbon everywhere, and there was garland everywhere. It's this old church in the Circle in downtown Indianapolis, and they did I thought this was a Catholic mass thing, but they did the incense back and forth, and they were kind of like doing my mom liked those Gregorian chants, like the monks did. It was kind of similar to that. But anyway, I remember I came in and Liliana and Alex's mom were like sitting like 3 or 4 rows from the back, and they saw me and they were so excited to see me. And I can just remember sitting in that church with them and being in there and the smell and just the discussion of just the importance of life and what this person's life was. He led such a cool life, you know, and he was such a neat person. And just those comforting words, and in that moment of just like being surrounded by love in a room like that, and then the hymns and everything, hymns that I knew because I had grown up on those hymns, you know. And I think in that moment I felt very, very comforted in a way that I can't ever say that I won't need that again in my life. So I'm not anti-church or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I just haven't felt the necessity today to do that, you know? But at some point in my life, I may want to. I'm gonna turn around. But yeah, my mom loved to start her, this is how this whole thing started, right? My mom loved to start her week off with like, it was funny because I just found one of these the other day in, what was it that I was reading? Oh, do you remember if you watch my Peterisms channel, I would read, what was that book called? Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff, right? I don't remember who it's by. I think it's not James Canfield. He's, I think, the one that did Chicken Soup for the Soul. So anyway, I don't remember who it's by, but anyway, it doesn't matter. He, that pool business went out of business. Businesses left and right. Do you guys know what book I'm talking about? Here, I'll tell you who the author is in case somebody wants it. Let me pull into this space right here. Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff. Pulled right up. Richard Carlson. So I read part of it on my Peterisms channel, right? And I had a copy in the basement, and I said, oh, I'm going to read this whole book in a year, and guess what? I never did. Imagine that. I set a goal that I didn't accomplish. But you know what is so funny is that I set a lot of goals that I do accomplish. So don't let anybody ever diminish your shine. You know what I mean? Even if you just set one goal for yourself and if you set 100 goals for yourself and you accomplish just one, you've done more than a lot of people have. So be very proud of yourself. Anyway, up in the cabinet, I found another copy of it, and it was my mom's copy. I think I read this on the Peterisms channel the other day, or I read it on something. Oh no, I read it on my Peter Does Stuff channel when I had made the bed. Then I read it up there. But I found one of, like, my mom would get these things that were like the fold over paper that you get into church. I don't even know what they're called, but they were like daily kind of devotional things. They didn't, do you know what I'm talking about? And they had like, it was like for the whole week ahead though. And so it would have like a song on it on the back. It wasn't like the service, or maybe it was, I think the service was like an insert into it. But then it would have like a song on the back, and it would have like some thoughts and all this kind of stuff. And she would always like have that like in her Bible, like throughout the week, and she would like read that. She also did like, I forgot my mom had this little daily devotional book that she got from the church too. And it was literally like, it would come out every month. So you guys know what I'm talking about? And it was like a religious devotional book that she would read, that it was just like a positive affirmation, but it was like this little fold over. It just looked like something like, you know those old horoscope books that you would get at like the grocery store? That's what it looked like. And she would keep it in the side of her yellow chair and ottoman in her bedroom, and then she'd always have Kleenex stuck down in there, and her cigarettes, and she'd have a cigarette with a lighter in the pack, and then she kept her ashtray underneath because the chair had like this frilly little, we have the chair in the basement. Imagine that. It's actually kind of a cool chair. It has a chair with an ottoman. If we recovered it, we could put it somewhere. It's not a bad chair. I should actually, there's somebody that might like that chair actually. Start getting rid of some of that stuff, but you could probably just buy a cover for that chair, I bet, don't you think? Anyway. So yeah, she loved to start her weeks off with like on a positive note like that. And Sundays for us, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, we would have like a lunch, but it was always like tuna fish salad sandwiches and chicken noodle soup. We did this when my dad was there, and we would do it afterwards. We'd stop at Roslyn Bakery's on the way home. Roslyn Bakery, which was like a local bakery. They ended up closing down apparently because there was like rat feces and stuff in the donuts. Oh. But they had the best cookies, best sweetheart roll that we would get on Christmas. Best cookies. My mom would let me get like 1 or 2 donuts and then like a cookie. And they, oh my God, they had the best cookies in the world. She'd let me get more than that. She'd let me get what I wanted. But anyway, I mean, as long as I didn't go overboard. But I would always get like yeast donuts, and then I would get like these sugar pumpkin donuts that they had, but then I'd get like one with icing. Oh my God. So then we would come home, and my mom would make, she made the best tuna fish salad sandwiches. That's kind of been like one of the only things of fish I've ever been able to eat. She made it in this little metal bowl. I was talking about this other metal bowl the other day, but this was like a little metal bowl that she made. We still have it at home too in the kitchen. Alex uses it sometimes to mix stuff in. But anyway, she would make tuna fish salad sandwich, and she always took those, what are they called, like the jerkins or the gherkins, you know, pickles that are real sweet tasting. She cut those up, those little baby gherkins or jerkins, or they're not called jerkins, are they? I know, I think I used to always call them that. But anyway, and she would cut those up, and then she would put them in the tuna fish salad sandwich. When my mom and my aunt were growing up, they had a roof on their house that was like flat, and my mom said that when they would come home from going out on the weekends, that they would, either her and her friend Diane or my mom and my aunt would go on the roof, and they would make tuna fish salad sandwiches and sit up there and talk about their night. Like that, isn't that kind of cool? And watch like the sky and stuff. But anyway, but my mom loved, she made the greatest tuna fish salad sandwiches on whole wheat bread, lightly toasted. And then she would make that I thought it was that Mrs. Knorr's soup, that K-N-O-R-R-S soup that had the golden ball in it. But every time I say that on here, somebody else, and Mrs. Grass's, people are always like, no, that's Mrs. Grass's. Yes, it's Mrs. Grass's. But we used to also have sometimes, I think it might have been Mrs. Knorr's. One of them had the package, and one of them had the gold egg. Do you remember? And because my mom would call Mrs. Knorr's, she would call, jokingly, she would call it Mrs. Knorr's, because it was K-N-O-R-R-S. But when my parents were still together, my dad would take a nap on the porch and read the paper. And then, because we went to like 10 o'clock. My dad was an elder in our church for a long time too. My mom taught Sunday school. So we would go to both services when I was a kid. And so I would go to Sunday school, and then I had to sit in the second service with my parents. And then with my mom taught Sunday school. And so I would go to Sunday school. She didn't teach my class, but she taught Sunday school, and then, which is like, you know, Bible study for kids. And then we would go to the sermon, and not always. I can remember now, like my mom being like, sometimes like, let's just go home. But we would sit, and it's like they're putting all kinds of salt out on the roads. More like, I mean, I see 3 trucks right in front of me. I don't think we're supposed to get that kind of snow tomorrow. But anyway, so I don't think we're supposed to get any snow tomorrow. They're really putting a lot of salt down. This is weird. It's all over the road too. So I said to my, sometimes my mom would say, let's just go home and let's just skip the main service. But typically we were there for like 2 hours. And then my mom did altar service too, which is where you have to get the wine ready for communion. And that was one of the positions that she held in the church. She also did a thing later called Kids Cafe. My mom was really involved in her church. She did this thing called Kids Cafe, which was for all the local kids. The church that I went to was not in the greatest area of town, and there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood who their parents worked several jobs and didn't come home till late at night. So the Kids Cafe at the church served as like a neighborhood area where the kids could come and get a meal or get dinner or afternoon snacks and do homework and have assistance on homework and things like that. They didn't even have to be members of the church. My mom was a part of that for a long time, up till like probably right before she passed away. My mom was actually a member of 2 churches at the time that she passed away, King of Glory and Our Redeemer. Our Redeemer was the church that I grew up in, Our Redeemer Lutheran, but it closed down a couple years ago, which I found out. It's so sad. It was such a beautiful church. It had the most beautiful stained glass, and the carpets were beautiful, and but my mom got to have her funeral there, so it's kind of ending, I guess. But it would have made her really sad, I think, to find out that it had closed down. There's a few things that have happened through the years that I'm like, I'm really glad that my mom's not alive right now. I think that would have probably really devastated her. I know that she found a lot of solace in that church. And she would have found somewhere else to go because she was going to this other big church, but she didn't like it as much because it wasn't as small, and, you know, she didn't know everybody because she had been going to this other church forever. Where am I at on time? Have I been vlogging that long? So anyway, what was I gonna say? She, but anyway, and then on Sundays we would have, you know, lunch in the afternoon, and then I'd take a nap or do my homework or whatever, and then in the evenings, my mom and I, she'd make a meal on Sunday evenings, and it was a bigger meal typically, but it was like, you know, some kind of like, it would be like a Sunday kind of meal, like a pot roast. My mom loved to make pot roasts, or, you know, like a beef stew in the crock pot, and it would be like homemade bread and salad and all of that, you know, or a meatloaf, which is so funny because I obviously don't eat it now because I'm a vegetarian, but years later, after, like, I hated all of those standard meals that my mom made me, and then I can remember, like, I was probably, like, God, like 26 or 27 at the time, and I was like, I miss my mom's meatloaf so much. She made such great meatloaf, and I can remember I said something to her about it. She used to laugh because I love chicken a la king, which she said came straight out of a can. She goes, you like my chicken? I said it one time, like, it was either in like a counseling session or just one-on-one. She's like, that's my favorite. Well, her favorite meal that she made was called chicken curry. I loved it. It was like this broccoli casserole, chicken curry casserole. It was delicious. They have salt everywhere. We must be about to get some snow or ice because this is crazy. But that was her favorite, or that was my favorite meal that she made me. And then the other, it stopped. The other favorite meal, the other meal that my mom made that was one of my favorites was chicken a la king. And I can remember I said to my mom, I love chicken a la king, like, how do you make that? She's like, my chicken a la king is one of my favorite meals that you make. And she's like, with my homemade spaghetti, and I mean, I'm like, I like your homemade spaghetti too, Mom, but like, and she's like, of all the meals I make, chicken a la king, I was like, yeah, why? And she's like, it's literally a can of biscuits. If you guys have never made this before, here's a real easy meal for you. She goes, it's literally a can of those biscuits or whatever, and you just put them in the oven, and then you bring them out, and then you fold them open in half, and you put 2 of them down, and you get chicken a la king in a can, the mix, and heat it up on the stove, and then you pour it over the biscuits. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. Oh my God, it was so good. And we'd always have it with garlic bread, which makes no sense. But my mom also loved those Jiffy, like the breads, like the cornbread, like the Jiffy corn muffins and stuff. Oh my God, I loved those. And what else? I did not love my mom's tacos. I've never loved like made at home tacos. Although my stepmom for a long time made these chicken tacos that I was obsessed with, and I'd always come over there. I'd be like, please make the chicken tacos, please make the chicken tacos. And she would make these chicken tacos. And then I don't know what it was, but one day I couldn't eat another chicken taco to save my life, and I felt so bad. And I remember I'd come over there and she'd be like, I made your favorite chicken tacos. And I was like, ugh, I don't want those chicken tacos. I can't eat anymore. I had so many of them. The other thing was my stepmom in the summer, oh my God, she made this mean chicken salad. It had grapes and pecans in it, and oh God, and celery. It was the best chicken salad you have ever had in your entire life. It is, I mean, Alex's grandma makes some pretty mean chicken salad too. And I don't eat chicken salad anymore, obviously, and it's the thing I miss the most. God, at Christmas, we went over to his aunt and uncle's, and Alex goes, there's my abuela's chicken salad you used to like so much. I was like, yeah, that I can't have anymore because I'm a vegetarian. But my stepmother made the best chicken. She's a pretty good cook anyway, but she made the best chicken salad in the entire world. And she would just make a huge, like, I remember it was like in this wood container in the sink, and she would make it. Was it a wood container? I don't remember. I think it was, but she made this huge chicken salad and put tinfoil over it. And then I just make sandwiches left and right in the summer. I loved it. And my dad also used to have that Jerky's mustard. I cannot find that stuff anywhere, you guys. That Jerky's mustard. Please do not buy it and send it to me. Just tell me where I can find it, okay? I don't want it busting open in a box. But do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's Durkees. Oh my God, it's the best. It's expensive. And it has like a light blue. Listen to me talk about food of my childhood. And it's like a light blue container on top. I loved that, and I would make turkey sandwiches with that. Oh my God, it was so good. I put turkey and cheese on whole wheat bread, and then my dad got this kind of whole wheat bread that I love. And they always had fresh orange juice at their house. And I love a glass of fresh orange juice with a sandwich like nobody's business. And then my dad always had these barbecue potato chips. I used to love, I can't remember what brand they are, but I used to love them. But I kind of ate those. You never, like, if you go to Subway enough, then you can't eat Subway anymore. I did that a lot with stuff at my dad's house, like those potato chips. They would always buy me stuff that they thought, like, that I liked, and then I would kind of, like, overdo it to the point where I couldn't eat it anymore. But anyway, my mom's meatloaf, my mom's beef stew, my mom's, all kinds of stuff like that she made was really, her chicken curry, her chicken a la king, was all really good. Both of my parents, both my mom and, like, this was so crazy to me when I would go to other people's houses, and I'm really thankful for this too. Like, even with my dad, when it was just he and I and he was living in his apartment, he would grill out steaks. Like, if it was a Wednesday night and we didn't go out to dinner, because we would go out to dinner a lot, you know, but if it was like a Wednesday night or a weekend and I was with him, like, my dad would, like, grill out a steak. He would make, like, whole grain rice, this spinach souffle from Stouffer's that I was obsessed with. And do you guys know the square spinach souffle? I used to love that. I could probably have that, couldn't I? Because that's vegetarian. And then he would make me drink a glass of milk, like a tall glass of milk, and then I could have with the dessert if I wanted to. And it was always like, he would heat up a little bit of apple pie, or I'd get to have those, like, those mint cookies that I liked. What did I call those? Why can't I remember? Like grasshopper cookies. Or ice cream. You know, we used to get Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I talked about that last night. The chocolate chip mint or the butter pecan. I liked bubblegum ice cream too a lot around my birthday in the summer. I always wanted to have a bubblegum ice cream birthday cake. I had birthday ice cream cakes a lot since my birthday was in June. But, you know, I can remember when we would, my dad had a little, like, this wood block table, which he still has at his house in the basement. My mom had a wood block table. You guys, I was trying to find one of these the other day to show it my mother-in-law what I was talking about. Do you guys know what I'm talking about with a wood block table? I have one in my office. So, which has my TV on it and nothing else. Anyway, just a bunch of crap, mail and stuff like that. But anyway, but you guys know what I'm talking about, the old cane chairs. That was like the kitchen table that we had. And my dad had one at his house too. And I can remember later he said the only reason I got that table was, you know, it wasn't like I was having dinner parties. He was like, it was just for you and I to have, you know, sit down dinners when you came over. Which is so crazy to me. I look back on that my dad even thought that through, to have like a table that we would sit at. I mean, it was a table where you could sit, you know, 6 people. And it didn't. I mean, we had 4 little cane chairs. It was a real casual table, but do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a thick wood block table, and then you have cane chairs around it. Anyway. So, but at my dad's house, when I was there, we sat down. I mean, not always, like in the summer, sometimes like when my dad and my stepmom, like when they moved into the house together, like they would cook out a lot. So we would like take our food from the kitchen and go sit outside. But still, if we sat outside, we would sit at the like high top table outside and all talk. Like we had a family dinner, always. Like unless like one of us had plans, like, you know, I was going out with friends to go to dinner, or my parents were going to do something else, my dad and my stepmom, or like my mom was going to do something else. But like, I would have to say like 95% of the time, we had a sit down dinner. Like my mom and I growing up, and my dad and myself, and then my dad and my stepmom and myself, we had sit down dinners and family dinners where we sat there and talked, you know. Now I can remember my mom would let me, like we would talk about the day at school and whatever, and then we would turn on Little House on the Prairie at 7 o'clock on Channel 4, which was like the local access TV station out of Bloomington, Indiana. And we would watch Little House on the Prairie. Na, 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 na. And I think my mom thought that was kind of homey and kind of family-ish a little bit, because we would always talk about that years later too, you know? And I would just kind of sit there, and then she would do the dishes, and I had to help clean and I had to carry the dishes, clear the table, and then she would clean the dishes. My mom loved to clean the dishes. And so she would sit there and do like the dishes and put them in the dishwasher while she would make some coffee. And then I would sit there and watch the end of Little House on the Prairie, and she would kind of watch it to the side while she was doing it, you know, and then she'd have a cup of coffee at the end of the table, and I'd sit there and like bring a book out or whatever, and then we kind of like, you know, slowly go upstairs. You know, where we would like, well, or on the porch where we would watch a movie or a TV show before I went to bed. And, you know, typically I got into bed early and read, and both my parents were big on me getting to bed early and reading. Like, sometimes, like, Tanya and I talk about this, like, when we go to the Walmart or the Meijer, and it's, like, 1 o'clock in the morning, and people have their kids with them, and probably because they don't have anybody to watch their kids, and I understand that, but, like, my parents would never have back in the day. And my mom was a single mom. She would never have had me up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and never. You know, maybe, like, when I was, like, 12 or something, and we were watching, you know, we were trying to be sneaky and watch, like, Sammy Terry and watch those, like, scary movies late at night if I had, you know, a family friend over or something, you know, but, like, other than that, no. Or, like, if my mom's friend Susie was visiting, but I never had early bedtimes. Like, my parents weren't super strict about that, but no, I wouldn't have been up at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, later, like, they didn't have an issue with that, you know? They were pretty liberal about it, but anyway, you know, I would go over to friends of mine's houses, and I would be like, you know, and, like, the mom would get, like, she'd make dinner, and I can remember, like, they would invite me over for dinner, right? I mean, this didn't happen a lot because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, right? But I can remember when I did, I would get, like, invited over to somebody's house for dinner. And it wouldn't just, I mean, it would be, like, with pizza this would happen, but this would also happen with, like, spaghetti or something. And I can remember, like, it would just be, like, in a pot on the stove, which was... My mother didn't do that either. Like, I mean, she had me help set it out. I had to pour the water for her and these blue glasses and the milk for myself, and I had to put the salads out, and I had to fold the napkins, and there was, like, a whole thing to it. I had to learn how to, you know, set the table, and that was important to my mom and things like that. My aunt was really big on that too. But I would go over to my friend's house, and it was kind of very much serve yourself. And then everybody would get spaghetti, and I still, to this day, it's so funny, like, when we go over to Melissa and Jason's, because, like, if we go over there for dinner or whatever, everybody will go around the table in the living room with the couch, and I'll sit at the table in the kitchen. Like, I still have to sit at a table. Like, even at our house, because we don't have a table, like, we have a dining room table, but it's so far away from the TV that I'll sit, like, in the chair and whatever, and I don't love it. I like sitting at a table to eat. It's part of why I like to go out to dinner. I don't know, there's something about it to me. It's the ritual of, like, sitting down and having a dinner at a table that I enjoy, you know? And I can remember going to my friends' houses, and I'd be like, you guys don't sit down at a dinner table and have dinner and talk and stuff like that? And they'd be like, no. They looked at me like I was the strangest person in the world. And I had never, like, I mean, even, like, friends of our families, like, they would have sit-down dinners. So I just thought it was kind of, like, bizarre. Like, I was like, this is weird to me that people don't have sit-down dinners. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was a new concept for me, I guess. But anyway, it doesn't matter now. I think it's nice, though. I'm really glad that that's one of the things I'm really happy about is that I grew up with, I think I was trying to say this earlier, two parents that thought it was important to ask about my day, and they knew my teachers' names, you know, and what was going on, and, you know, sadly they didn't know, like, about the whole bullying and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't really want to bring that to my parents. I think my dad knew. I think my dad had I think my mom just really didn't want to see that kind of pain, and so she didn't get it, but I think my dad kind of knew. My dad was always super protective of me. You know, my dad was the kid that was doing startup basketball games and playing football in the yard, and he was very athletic and very smart, and, you know, went on his first date when he was 15 and always had cute girls that liked him. So when I'm not that, like, my dad will tell you that from a very young age, he was like, Peter will be gay. Like, he said he knew at like 3 or 4. And I'm like, how? And it's always kind of based on stereotypical things. But he's like, I just could tell with, like, your mannerisms or things that you were more interested than others. And he was like, you really were interested, you know, in different, like, things that most of, you know, the boys that I had been around were not interested in. And he was like, and I was totally okay with that. And I was like, did you and Mom ever have a conversation about it? And he said, no, but your stepmother and I definitely, I think he said they did have a conversation about it, maybe. I don't know. But I know that he said my stepmother and he had a couple conversations about it. And it just has never been an issue with my dad, you know? And my dad has quite a few gay friends that aren't not what, like, have stereotypical, like, from the 80s mannerisms or any of that kind of stuff. And so it's interesting to me that my dad, like, it's not in a judgmental way at all, but like if you were like, well, Peter, you know, he wanted to have a Cabbage Patch doll and this and, you know, whatever, and he always liked to play with dolls, and, you know, I was trying to teach him how to shoot a gun, he didn't want to be the cowboy, he wanted to be the cowgirl, you know, it was just stuff like that, and he thinks it's hilarious, and it is kind of funny how he tells it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but like that's not every gay guy's experience, do you know what I mean, of what they went through. You know, my husband had a lot of dates in high school. He loved school dances so much that my husband, like his senior year, I think, went to like 3 proms and 2 homecomings or something like that, because he loves school dances so much, because he loves to dance. So anyway, he got asked by, there used to be this club here in Indianapolis, it was called On Cue. Alex talks about it. Oh my God, it's so funny when you get him talking about it, because he and his cousin Maya would go there all the time, but you had to be like, I think you had to be like 15 or, I think you had to be 16 to go there. And Carlos was like, yeah, I think you had to be 16 to go there. And Carlos was like a year younger. And so, and Alex is like, to this day, when he's telling the story, he's like, well, I mean, I knew the bouncer. I knew all the, I'm like, a bouncer at an underage? He's like, well, I knew the, like, the, you know, the doorman. And he was like, so we snuck, have this whole story about how they snuck, Carlos in one time, and he was wearing like Maya's platform shoes, so it would look like he was taller because he's real short anyway, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And they went to this, like, and he's like, yeah, we knew all these people, but anyway, so he had all these girlfriends, you know, that went to all the surrounding high schools, and they were all going to this. I was like, well, what did they sell at the bar at the underage club? And he was like, I mean, they sold like juice and Cokes and stuff. Did you guys have one? Now, when we would go visit our friend in southern Indiana, she was from Princeton, Indiana, and we used to go visit her, and then we would go down to Evansville, and there were 2 clubs in Evansville, Indiana that we would go. Well, I think I only went to the Ross. There was the Ross and the Vic. And the Vic, I think, the Ross was the punk one. The Vic was like, they were all age clubs. These were all age clubs. And so we went there, and I can remember this one time my friend, she got her hair pulled. She was so upset. These mean girls on the dance floor were like pulling her hair. Like, she's like, somebody pulled my hair. I was like, are we sitting in Coal Miner's Daughter? And so I was like, girl, nobody's pulling your hair. It was these girls. And like every time we would turn around, they'd be like, and they were like dancing. Apparently my friend like hit on this one girl's boyfriend or something, and she didn't like it. So then we were sitting there and we were like dancing. My friend was like, and she goes, that girl's pulling my hair. And we almost got into a fight with these girls. And that was bad. Oh my God, we used to have so much fun on those trips. I can remember, well, my friend's mom would let us drink and stuff. So that was probably why I had fun on those trips. But I can remember, my friend and I, that was a long drive. That was like a 4-hour drive. We had to go from like here to Terre Haute and then to southern Indiana. Oh my God, that was a long drive. And maybe that was when she was in college, because she went to the University of Southern Indiana. And we went down there a couple times that first year before she stopped going to school there. What did Misha say tonight in the live stream? She said, she was talking about Casey Anthony, and she said she never graduated from high school. And I go, she didn't. She goes, no, she laid out most of her senior year. I said, girl, you're from Virginia. What is laid out? And Mel was like, is that like skipping school? And she's like, in Virginia, we don't skip school, we lay out. But I remember my friend and I, okay, maybe this was more like our senior year in high school. It must have, or maybe our first year of college when we go down there and visit her. But I don't even know what it was. We got so obsessed with these Irish drinking songs. She and I have this tape. We both have the same tape, and it was Irish drinking songs. And we like knew every word. I don't even know how it got started. We knew every word to all of these Irish drinking songs. And we would drive from here to Evansville or Princeton, Indiana, and we would listen to all of, God, this just seems like so long ago. This is like a period of my life I kind of completely forgot about. I don't really ever talk about this on here, do I? But anyway, I remember this one time we, I just remembered something else. This word has actually happened to me not once but twice, and it's kind of funny. It happened with my mom one time, and it happened with my friend. But anyway, I remember we stopped at this gas station, or we went to some gas station one night, and I wanted a pack of Eve's cigarettes because I thought they were so pretty. And so we went in there, and I made my friend ask for them because I didn't want to ask for a pack of Eve's cigarettes. But anyway, we went to this Hardee's, and I can remember there was this woman there. I mean, this is, okay, I can't tell the story. It's happened more than once, but my friend was like, something about the bathroom being open, and this woman said something about like, something like, Harold, she wants to use the shitter, or something like that. It was bad. And that's not the only time in my life that somebody has used that word either, which is like, I've told a couple of stories of that, but anyway, my friend was like, oh no, I'm good. She's like real class act, kind of, or she thought she was, and I mean, she is, kind of, honestly, and she was like, oh no, I'm good, I'm good. I don't need to use the restroom anymore. Oh, we used to drink gallons of that purple passion stuff. I can smell it as I'm talking about it. Do you guys remember that? There's certain alcohols, like if I talk about it, like I can smell it. Do you guys remember? I'm like, what else closed over here? Something else closed. God. And Burger King closed over here. But do you guys remember that purple passion stuff that came in a 2-liter? It was like Everclear and Fruit Punch. I can remember we would, God, I could kind of smell it. Horrible. And I had a friend of mine, she loved that Manischewitz that was like $3. I think it was like Jewish Passover wine or something like that, and you could get it at the grocery store and it was real cheap, and she always wanted to get that. And for some reason it got you real drunk. I don't remember why, but it was real like syrupy sweet. Do you remember that? Ugh, have you ever had that? I liked like Colt 45s and Old English. I like those like malt liquors too. That was kind of a little bit later in my drinking career though. This was like early. This would have been like late high school, early college. I was pretty much like Boone's Farm, Purple Passion. I mean, you know, that crap that I wasn't like, hadn't been introduced to Jack Daniels yet, which was my downfall. Probably vodka. I did. Beer, you know, that kind of stuff. I wasn't really a beer drinker that much in high school though. But like I would say like in early college, because by the time I got sober, I loved drinking beer. I loved the taste of beer. Well, listen, you guys, I have vlogged for, I think, a really long time at this point. I don't know, at least like an hour and a half, maybe. Oh my God, this battery is already at half. So the other battery almost was all the way through. So I'm gonna get off here now. I mean, do you guys see this? There are salt trucks everywhere. Look at this. We must be getting a blizzard or something. I would like to get some snow. That would make me happy. So anyway, I'm gonna get off here. I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday and an amazing beginning to your week. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And what did I used to say on here? Have an amazing day unless you have other plans. And like it says in the 4 agreements, always lead with love. Also, like I always say, practice random acts of kindness, but also like I always say, don't tell anyone, just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's a nice thing to do. It feels so good right here. The heat coming out of the vents feels so nice. And most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Raise somebody's spirits today. Let's focus on somebody else instead of ourselves today and try to make somebody else feel really good today. And it doesn't take very much at all just to call somebody up or text them and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I was thinking of you today. And you don't even have to say I love you or anything mushy. You could just say, hey, I was thinking of you. How you doing? It means an awful lot to so many people just to know that somebody out there is thinking about them. There have been many moments in my life when somebody has reached out and said, I just wanted you to know I was thinking of you today. And it literally changed the entire outcome of my day, just to know that I meant something to somebody else. So let's focus tomorrow on that, each and every single one of us. And just imagine if we each did that and we each just texted one person, that we would, all of us collectively would impact so many people's days just by maybe making them feel a little bit better, you know? Maybe we could shift the energy in the world, and we could do one positive act collectively a day together, and we could shift all the energy towards being positive, loving world. This is where the hippie in me is coming out. And it's time for me to go when the hippie in me comes out. But hippie, even though I don't have long hair anymore, is a state of mind. So anyway, just if you don't look like a hippie, but you feel it inside, just tell everybody hippie is a state of mind. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!